Welcome to the Emo Social Club. My name is Brian. We are big fans of the Riot Fest festival, Chicago native festival that happens but once a year in September. I wanted to have a conversation, some speculation, and in many ways a ranking of some of the bands that have played Riot Fest in the past. We brought on a friend, comedian, radio personality, Q101 host and DJ and Radio J.
Radio J, I'll take it.
Radio J. Yeah. We got Kev.
I haven't been called a DJ in a long time. I can't remember the last time someone called me a DJ. It's very formal.
All you do is you press play on Spotify, right? That's what a DJ is.
I don't listen to the radio. I listen to Spotify.
Yeah.
I have an algorithm that tells me how to feel.
Why would I have a person? I have an algorithm. It knows what I like.
No, your phone listens to you and knows when you cry. Boom. You without an E. It plays. You don't even know it's happening.
You have no idea. We got Kevin Kellam on the episode chatting about Riot Fest. Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself, your Riot Fest experience, and what you got coming up.
I can't say I was with Riot Fest when it started in 2005, but I knew people that were involved with it then. I worked the first one that became like a destination festival. It really started to become like a regional thing. It was kind of a cool heard about thing in like 2005, 2006. And it was very much very punk heavy. There would be maybe one or two things. And then I can't remember what year it was, but it was the year they got Weezer. And people were like, whoa. And they got Weezer to play. It was like right around the time where bands started to embrace the idea of the album plays.
Yeah.
And now this is another crazy thing. We hear about this. Album plays are the huge thing that sells now to people in their 30s or 40s. Wait until you see the pop artists start to do this.
Oh yeah.
This is going to happen. You're gonna start here. Somebody's gonna do a Vegas residency, and it's gonna be Lady Gaga's only playing, Famous Monster. Like you're gonna get that whole album, like that type of thing. That's gonna happen. And then I was working for what was still Q87.7. We had to have this alternate station, this alternate frequency, but in soulfulness, not legally, but in the soulfulness of Chicago, we were still regarded as like the alternative radio brand. And I was working on site off air for them. I was a promotions assistant. I had to run the graffiti van at the first Humble Park Riot Fest, which is a different park. It's an anchor park. And I lived right by Humble Park. And once we parked the van, I just got to walk back and forth from my apartment, which was nice. And it was a graffiti van where people could draw graffiti on the van. And that was 2012. And I think I've gone to almost every single Riot Fest since, in some capacity or another.
I think I have too. I think actually some of the bands we're going to talk about played in 2015, and that might have been one of the only years in recent memory that I did not go to Riot Fest was 2015.
It was my first year on air for Q101.
Yeah, before we jump into our actual video today, the reason we have you on also is that you're filming a comedy special this August in Chicago. Tell us about that as well.
We're doing it at Lincoln Hall, which is where like Dave Matthews Band has played there. There's been some Lollapalooza after shows there. There's been bands you've probably had on the show that have played there. And somehow I'm playing there. like I'm not saying I'm a bad comic, but I'm like a feature level comic. I open up for some people that are names, and I kind of tour regionally. And it's because I'm tethered to radio and different things that I do. But this is like the biggest comedy show I've ever done. Like it legitimately is the biggest thing I've ever done, like outside of radio or wrestling. It's pretty huge. It's taken me a long, long time to get this material together. Probably about 5 or 7 years worth of material I'm going to do in 45 minutes.
Wow. And
it's called Kevin and Hell. And it's very emo. Like a lot of it, like there's a big breakup thing. Someone broke up with me when I was on the air.
Wow.
And so that like is pretty unique. And so now like everything I heard musically that day is like it's horned in, you know? It's August 9th. It's the 9 p.m. show for the Windy City Comedy Festival. They're giving me the shot. They put this all together. We're going to film it and put it out. And hopefully somebody wants to distribute it. If not, I'm going to put it out myself. Oh, yeah. So it'll probably hopefully come out sometime before the end of the year, but buy tickets. So if you think I'm funny or amusing and you're in town, I didn't want to go Lollapalooza, but I'm in Chicago the weekend after. August 9th, we're going to be there. I know some people are coming into town for Linkin Park's tour. It's going to be there. So maybe you come in the night before, do 2 nights in Chicago. I'm one of the things you can do.
There you go.
The show's at 9 p.m. So it's, we have some great comedians. Brandon Kiefer, who's an amazing comedian. He played the Chicago Theater. He's killed on Kill Tony. He's going to open up for the show. And you can get tickets. You go to my website, kevinkellam.com. kevinkellam.com. It's KELLAM.com. And you can see my other comedy on there and see if you think I'm funny or whatever. And then go check out the show August 9th. And you get to see me do the album too. Like I have one crack at it. So I want to build the album out. Usually when they tape comedy albums, they do them twice.
Yeah.
And so because I'm doing the indie thing, I only have one.
You get one.
I got one shot at it. Yeah.
Well, perfect. So here's what we're doing today. We are going to go through a list of bands that have played Riot Fest in the past. We're speculating ahead of that without any knowledge, me without very, very limited knowledge on who's going to get booked on Riot Fest at all. Bands that are a little bit hopeful, and we're just going to rank them and say, like, I think this band should be on, or I want them on, or I love this band, and I've seen them there before, and have a conversation about each one of these bands. Some of them have played, 10 years ago. I'll bring that up as like the history with Riot Fest with these bands. Hopefully we'll get some correct here in our speculation of who's going to be on this year. A lot of them are headliners, so probably not all of them, but
yes, they'll probably cancel each other out. That kind of always happens. Like I always see these dream lists of what people want on any type of, festival lineup or anything like that. There's always a sense of, oh, this band needs to be here on this, and they're not. And, look, they can't have this because they got that, or they can't do this because they got that.
First band we're talking about, Deftones. They played in 2015. I don't remember seeing them in 2015. But I do remember they've played a couple times since then.
They played Lollapalooza last year.
Yes.
They had one of the biggest day crowds of the year. They've played Lollapalooza a handful of times. There was some expectations that they might be on Lollapalooza this year from people I talked to.
Yeah.
But obviously they're not. And Lollapalooza is in Chicago. And so if you do Lolla, you're likely not doing Riot Fest, right? There's a whole new generation of fans that got onto this band. I think they sold out the United Center.
I'm sure.
They had a huge crowd, I understand, in New York City at Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. They're a band that really has a lot of new people getting onto what they do. And I like, as a man of a certain age, that a band I knew in high school has a lot of new fans.
Yeah.
Like a lot of new fans. Deftones just played in Chicago, so is there a radius league clause? Mm-hmm. I would put them as a high A to be on there. I could absolutely see them on there. I'm not saying it would shock me if they were, but it would make a whole lot of sense if they were now, this year, especially if they were put in they're going to headline. If you have Deftones this year, they're headlining.
I agree. They could definitely be headlining. I would go A as well, just out of my being hopeful too. It's something that I want to see. I love Deftones. I love their music. I think that they are an absolute banger of a band. They put on a good show. I saw them.
Swerve City is a must.
Swerve City is a must. You've seen The Butcher is a must. A lot of Diamond Eyes is some of the best music they've done, but obviously you want all the classics like My Own Summer.
Sorry, I'm the radio dork. I just want to hear Change in the House of Flies.
Yeah, everyone wants Change. I mean, they're going to do
it. Eddie. Play the hit.
They're going to do it. My Own Summer is going to go off too.
Come on, dude. that guitar noise. I love that.
This one's probably a pretty realistic one. Taking Back Sunday.
What?
They play like every 2 years.
What?
I know.
I think they're doing a date with Cody in July that might interrupt all.
I know. I have seen Taking Back Sunday figure it out every single year. If they want to play, they play.
Yes. If they want to play, they will play.
Yes.
But I believe they're doing a date. There's a lot of bands that were announced for like different tours. I was like, oh, maybe that cancels them out of doing it.
This one, I believe it comes in August with Coheed. Coheed also might make an appearance on this list later, but for me, it's a band that when they play Riot Fest so often, I'm okay if they do it like every other year. Sometimes they've jumped on just out of like, hey, we want to do it. We love doing it. We love the people. They've
done that a couple of years, right? Yeah. Where they got added like the week of or the week before.
Oh yeah.
Like, hey, and then it's almost kind of like there was the years where it was like Andrew WK, Gwar, Taking Back Sunday are always going to be on this festival.
Didn't even think about it.
I like that. Yeah. I like that because all right, I'm betting on this. So yeah, I would put them not in the A category. We're going in terms of grade of possibility and give them a solid C.
I was going to say C too. I will also say, doing every other year might be a better thing now. Obviously,
they played last year, so this could be.
They just played last year. Gwar just played last year, but They've been doing it pretty consistently too. So there's a possibility that some of these bands might do an every other year situation. And in that case, I would say, yeah, let's maybe give them a year between to come back between these years, do another tour, go out with another band, and then both of those bands are on the Riot Fest the following year. Speaking of the next band I've got on the list, Gwar, a band that plays basically every year.
Well, also they play every year so that we can keep them from dominating the planet. You understand that there's some dogs of the universe that were sent to this planet after mating with apes, and they've now have to dominate and devour human beings. As someone who's I nearly had my throat ripped out and had my throat ripped out by Oderus Youngus, the late great Oderus Youngus, where he claimed, I believe it was 2004, and he claimed he would rip out my throat and turn it into a larynx that they would use on the next album. He said a part of you would be on the next album.
I mean, that's history making.
Yeah, but
now you're part of legend. I'm putting them at as far as likelihood, like A or S, because like there's just a really positive chance they're going to be on the fest. Do I need to see them again? Maybe.
But there is, like I said, there is something fun every year. We know Gwar is there.
Yep.
When they put out the April Fool's lineups, I don't know if they put out an April Fool's lineup this year.
No.
But last year they did an April Fool's lineup where it was a fake lineup and Gwar was in it. Gwar was also on the lineup.
It's comfortable. It makes you feel good.
I would be like, just because they played last year, I would say let's put them in a C or a D.
Okay.
Put them right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right in the middle.
There's a possibility, but it's not.
Can't be mad if they're not there.
I hope they're busy doing something really fun and good.
And devouring humans or chopping off a politician's head live on stage.
Which, God, what a year it would be for that this year.
Wear all white. Be in the front row.
Number 4, Ice Cube, who played in 2015.
Oh.
Now, I thought this was an interesting one because we do have pretty often like a hip-hop stage or a bunch of hip-hop acts that play. They're I don't always love that they're relegated to like one side of the fest or it
makes it easier though, because if there's a crowd of people that came and they want to just see their hip hop heads and they just want to be around that vibe. I think last year they did it. It was Public Enemy went right into Sublime, which that has a lot more of a Venn diagram crossover to me. And I think doing that with Taste. I think the same year it was Rob Zombie gets off stage, big main stage, Slayer's right up next. That makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
And you can manage the crowds a little bit easier and know, all right, we know metal people want to go see this and people want to be chill and smoke some weed and enjoy some hip hop. They're going to be over here. I think it makes more sense. Like it makes more sense. Ice Cube, I'd be all right with.
Yeah.
Ice Cube. I think there's some hip hop acts they could get on it that haven't played it. If you want to have a legacy hip hop, LL Cool J did a Lollapalooza one year. He was awesome.
I feel like these are artists that have songs that everybody, if you're in the punk genre, if you're in the metal genre, you still kind of know some of these songs. They're artists from the 90s that like have had a career for a long time. Ice Cube being a movie star, he's got some kitsch, he's got some attention. I could see this being a really cool one. I don't think it's very likely to happen again, so I'm going to go C as far as likelihood, but I do think it would be a cool addition if they could make it happen.
I think it'd be a cool one. I think there's some other acts of that kind of spectrum of, I'll say classic hip hop, but like acts that could play it that are in that degree. They've had Wu-Tang's doing like their farewell stuff. They've had them before. Have they ever had Nas before? I think Nas has done it once.
I think he has.
I've always heard people say they want to see Busta Rhymes do it, which I was like, whoa, okay.
That's
a pick.
Yeah.
And he's someone who's done stuff with rock bands here and there. Like he seems kind of like he would be down to do something like that, or he isn't. Oh no, I don't want to be there. Like Public Enemy, they made a huge break. Their biggest crossover was that, and they fitted perfectly last year. They were just perfect, like, and just ate it up and really, really enjoyed themselves. The Marley Brothers were really good too in terms of like a band where they're like, they're not a rock act, and like they really embrace it. And I do like that Riot Fest about 8-9 years ago was like, yes, we are going to have things that are out of the realm of what you've expected, and it will still scratch an itch, and good on them for doing it. The one act that they need to have, and he announced a show, he's going to play Ravinia in Chicago, which is like a classic musical venue in July. And I almost didn't want him to have that show. He's been on my Riot Fest dream list every year. Weird Al Yankovic.
I firmly agree.
If he plays, he will play to one of the biggest crowds he's played to in the Midwest ever.
Yep.
He has a diehard audience where he'll sell out a 5,000 seat place, Chicago theater, a Vic theater. He does really, really well at that level. But if you go and tell people that they get to see Deftones one night, but if you come back tomorrow, you get to see Amish Paradise.
Yeah.
And you get to see Eat It and like all these, and also a greatest hit set. That's another thing is he has so many songs. He got away from playing that.
Yeah.
I think he's still doing like a show where he just does deeper cuts that are not like song he'll do some song parodies near the end of his set now, but he really just does deeper cut stuff because he has enough of an audience. Yeah. He can do what he wants. Whereas I think for a festival though, he would be like, I will come out and play a greatest hit set. Like his album play would be play the greatest hits. Like, like that would be a funny thing for him to do, and he would embrace it. I doubt he'll be there, but he's the one act I've always wanted there. Like I've always wanted him to do this, and he always felt like the right type of person. Devo was so funny on stage, and like their music has a sense of humor, and he's very much of that ilk. And they have bands, NoFX, and the Descendants, who have a sense of humor.
Yep.
And it is a part of the festival. And I would put Weird Al in the D or the F just because I think late June maybe probably cancels him out.
I know.
From doing it. But it'd be cool if he was there. I would pop for it.
I'm going to say D just because I'm hopeful. My fingers are crossed that it could happen.
Who's in the F category? Give me someone who's absolutely not doing it.
My Chemical Romance is not doing it this year.
No, they are not doing it. They are playing arenas or stadiums rather. They're playing a stadium run. There is a weird run in, once again, we keep going back to Chicago, where there will be 4, like almost a week run of live rock music at Soldier Field. And these are all separately sold shows, 2 nights of System of a Down, 1 night of the Lumineers, which is a very, very popular group. And then My Chemical Romance. And so I was like, that's 4 nights. So I think there's a little bit of a production ease there because whatever stage they have built is likely going to have the same specs, some alterations show to show, but you won't have to change the base of it. You'll have to move some screens back. You'll have to change some back-end speakers and different things like that. But I would assume that someone at Live Nation or some corporate booking office was able to look at how much money we could all save if we all run Soldier Field the same week, even though it will maybe some of those shows may or may not sell out. But I can tell you the System of a Down show, that's another band you should not expect at Riot Fest this year because of that, because they're doing 2 nights, by the way. We've never had more of a response to a concert giveaway in some time than we did that System of a Down show, which I was very, very surprised about. The My Chemical Romance show had a great response as well. Linkin Park, I know some people wanted to rough on them for having a new singer and all these different things, but they're still drawing very well, and they're doing very well, and they're going to be in town in August. So August is a big month for live music in the Midwest, and Lollapalooza is that month, and then Riot Fest is the month after. So they're in they have to have a phenomenal lineup. There is no, in comparison to what else is going on within 4 or 5 weeks of when they're doing their show, to ask people to spend another $200-$300.
So my Chem is definitely an F. They're not playing this year. There's no way.
System of a Down, F.
Yeah.
You get an F.
System is also on my list, F. They played in 2015 as well.
Great show. That was a really muddy one. They had to stop it 2 or 3 times because people were
it was I could imagine them just not playing it again because it was such a rush to the stage for System of a Down that year. It was a great set. I had a blast. I was very far away from it, so I didn't have to.
And that was the first time they played Chicago in a long time.
Yeah,
at least 5-6 years at that point.
Yeah, people were very hungry for it. People were very excited to see System of a Down, and I'm sure that's why there was a lot of attention at the Soldier Field shows too, which I have not got tickets for yet, so I'll have to handle that before I lose my opportunity there. Maybe a little bit more likely, The Used. Now, they just played 3 nights at the end of March, and they're playing another 3 nights at the end of April.
Still in Chicago, which I know I'm sorry if you're in another town. We keep bringing up Chicago, but we're bringing this up so you know why these things may not be on this festival you travel to Chicago for.
Yes. Don't travel here expecting to see The Used.
It was very odd. Yeah. But it's a club show. So it's a club show. I would put them in maybe the C or the D.
I would say so too. I think that right now they're doing a run of their 25th anniversary. I think one of the things about a lot of these bands and where they fit onto Riot Fest is this celebration is there going to be a celebration of 20 years of Riot Fest, which is this is the 20th year of it, that oversees like them as a band or them as an artist doing their own celebration. And so a band like the Used, having done their 25th year anniversary, they might not want the Riot Fest to overshoot that. They are playing When We Were Young in Vegas later this year too, so they might just be associating themselves with more of this history of emo stuff, and maybe Riot Fest is not the place. I could see them maybe being on it, but I would also say it's pretty likely that they'll probably just stick to the Chicago shows they've already done. So I'd say C.
Very good possibility there.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very good possibilities there. Very possible.
This one is probably a no because Slayer gets announced so early in like the booking for Riot Fest and selling pre-sale tickets.
Last year, because there was a band that wasn't supposed to come back.
Yeah. And then
there
year
was
that they were doing the
I
last
can tell you also, by the way, I sold a lot of tickets.
I know why they
when
announced
people knew
so
they were
early.
getting Slayer again. That sold a lot of tickets.
When they say it's the only Chicago and Milwaukee show for Slayer, they know that they're announcing that early for a reason, which is why I'm like, they're probably not playing this year because they haven't announced them on the lineup yet. Yeah. So I think that's pretty unlikely. I think it's an F as far as what they're going to be playing this year. But they're pretty consistently playing Riot Fest now for a band that said we're done playing shows.
But it was also there was health reasons and different things that the wear and tear of doing the road and everything wasn't ideal for them. But I've heard the story that the wives got together and the wives of certain band members are like, let's get the boys back out there. It sounds like, oh, no. Like it's healthy for them to do this at a limited rate, Yeah. And Kerry King went out and did his own stuff with his own music and stuff. I think for Tom, it was just, I know what I know my body can handle. Yeah. And I know what I can play. But if you saw the show they did, it was still like 180 miles an hour. I've never seen more pyro. Yeah. I've never seen more pyro.
Much pyro at that show. Yeah. And then they get hit by it at some point.
You have to, even if you're not like getting scorched by it, you have to feel it. Like that has to do something to you to be around that much heat. But it was the most it was the most production I've ever seen. I know Fall Out Boy the night before had a big elaborate productions, which in terms of like things floating and then like one place. So I like that about the headliners last year, that there was a little bit more of an Coachella's doing this now. Like Lady Gaga almost did like a music video on stage 2 or 3 times this year. And now there's some pressure, I understand, on Lollapalooza to have some type of moment. You have to have a moment. You can't just do a show. It has to be something that people share. And so there's that.
Next band, Dashboard Confessional.
B or C.
I don't remember when they played last. If they've
played.
Yeah, they've definitely played, but I don't remember when it was. I would really like to see it. I would really like them to come back and play Riot Fest. I know they played Lolla like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. And it was a great set. They play a lot of the hits. They sound really good. They are a very good live sounding band.
When they do festivals, they tend to lean more into the hit songs because they know.
Yes.
And there's some bands that don't want to do that. I always think if you're at a festival, lean into what people are going to know.
Yeah. Play what everybody wants to hear.
If you're at a club show, different story.
But I love Dashboard. I think it would be a really good set. I would say B or C as well, just out of likeliness. But I'm going to lean B just out of hopefulness. I really like it.
I'm there with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm there with you on that.
Next band is Against Me, played in 2015. Now, Laura Jane Grace has played a bunch.
But Laura's played it a lot.
Yes. I don't know if... I don't think they've played since. Against Me has not played a lot of shows in recent years, and Laura Jane Grace has been doing a lot of other stuff and playing Against Me songs when she plays. So I'm like, well... can we have Against Me? And I don't know what's going on there. I know Laura lives in Chicago. She's very able to show up and do whatever otherwise. And I don't know what's going on with Against Me. I like Against Me. Against Me has a lot of very good songs. I would love to see them. I just don't think it's very likely. So I'd go D, I think.
A D with you as well.
Yeah. It feels unlikely, and that's sad.
I want to be wrong, though.
Next band, Anthrax.
Anthrax had an incredible set. They're a metal band I've interviewed a handful of times. They're a band that's endured a sense of humor, politically aware, knows who they are. 40-year anniversary recently for them. Joey Belladonna has been back in the band. He's an incredible singer. I think he's one of the most underrated metal singers of all time. They did it, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, the year that Slipknot was on.
Yep.
I couldn't see Thursday. You had that conflict of you got to choose one band or the other.
Yep.
I just got to choose. All right, I'm going with that. I would love to see them be out there. And also them doing an album play, like an Among the Living, which is, I think, if you don't know Anthrax, they're in the big four of thrash bands from the 80s, and one of the greatest heavy metal bands of all time. I'll say this too, a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band. And there's another metal band that I don't think you have on your list, and I don't think is going to play, but has always been one of my ironclad dream bands.
Toss it out there.
A headliner. If they do it, they have to headline. There is no other choice. Iron fucking Maiden. If you have Iron Maiden, you get the Iron Maiden crowd, which is at least 20 or 30,000 people.
It's so many people.
And like you have with Slayer,
yeah.
But you also have people that will be like, "Oh, I'll come.
I'll watch that
early and see some other bands and stuff like that." And that's not like the Iron Maiden crowd is not like a hyper aggressive crowd. I've been to Iron Maiden shows. It'd be fun to have them there. I'm fairly certain they don't. Another band that's in that same category that I thought was going to be on last year, but they ended up not being, Judas Priest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Judas Priest is an amazing band, a breakthrough brand, a politically breakthrough band with what Rob Halford did. So I would love to see Iron Maiden or Judas Priest. Some 41. They did it. Maiden Priest were the guys that raised.
The guys we praise.
I have some weird ones. Do you want to hear my weird ones that aren't going to happen?
Yeah, throw some weird ones out.
Here's an F. An F that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Reunion. They always promise reunions.
Mm-hmm.
Donna F. Donna C. Donna. I want all the Donnas. The Donnas.
The Donnas.
Are you out there? The Donnas spend the night. The Donnas turn 21. They are reincarnated Ramones.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved their sense of humor. The flip, the AC/DC, Get With the Boys script. The sexual awakening of a generation of women who would want to see that. The Donnas. Cash in, girls.
The Donnas.
Cash in. I want to see some middle-aged ladies out there shaking ass. The Donnas. I don't think it's going to happen, and they've kind of said it isn't going to happen.
Yeah, no, but we're being hopeful here. We're ranking it as our hopeful.
But I mean, if out of nowhere they tell you the Donnas are going to be there, holy, and they haven't played a show since like 2008.
Yep.
You know,
next band on my list, American Football.
You know, classic emo stuff does well on Riot Fest, right?
They are Chicago too,
and they do have Chicago roots. And are they super active?
They did Talia Hall end of last year. They did an anniversary for the record.
Their shows are super sporadic, right?
Yeah. I think American Football, though, because the Never Meant solo has turned into such a meme that I think that they haven't played in long enough that it would be a good time for them to come back and bring some of that. I think there's a new audience that would be happy to see them at a festival.
I would, yeah. I think it's a pretty solid possibility. I would put that in the C, near B category.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I'm going B as a that'd be really funny if they did it. This next band is likely an F. The Misfits. Okay. I think that's an F.
Yeah, they just did the original Misfits. I think they've done 2 Riot Fests. Both of them are very, very successful. They were on that first reunion run. Which, did you ever hear the story about how that was put together? Reportedly,
no.
Like how that came together. Like it was basically the reunion was a sub conversation after they made some other resolution between each other about like lawsuits and different things like that. Mm. And like it was like 2016. It was Danzig and Jerry Only. Apparently they were always friendly with each other, but never agreed to go back on stage because like we're never going to be like in business with each other. We can be friends. And we have lawyers fight over each other. But I guess once that was figured out with managers away from lawyers, they're like, all right, well, here's how we can actually do this. Here's how you can tour as those Misfits. But the original Misfits is what can play an arena, what can play a festival.
Yeah.
So let's go with that. And they kind of figured some stuff out. And now you have Glenn Danzig saying, I'm not going to really make new music. I just want to tour now and then and do that. And there's some, makes some sense. The fact that they play Coachella and they play so sporadically, they'll do like a New Year's Eve arena show here and there.
I would say it's an F just out of the big, like you said, Coachella, like you said, the controversy. I think it's just very unlikely that they would do it this year. I did like that they had
a huge crowd at Coachella.
Yeah.
They had a huge crowd at Coachella.
They had the logo on the lineup. They had their own logo on there. So like they have power. They have
I love when
you're
the only band who could just put a logo on a lineup and people know what they're getting.
Yes.
That's crazy.
It's beautiful.
Did you see the picture of Bernie Sanders? He spoke at
that was.
And for whatever reason, they took a picture of him next to like their stack of like speakers that have the skull logo on it.
I thought it was fake. I was like, this is
Photoshopped.
real photo. And then realized, oh my God, that actually happened. That's amazing.
I want to talk to the top 1%. I want to talk to we are 138. Okay.
We do not have enough.
I want
Halloween
skulls
per year.
I want your skulls.
We are going to go where eagles dare.
Attitude. You got some fucking attitude.
They're telling me, but I say I am not no goddamn son of a bitch. Next band, Jimmy Eat World.
I would say, I would put them in a high B.
Yeah.
Put them in a high B.
I might put them at A. I think it's been a minute, and I don't remember them doing a lot of festivals in Chicago recently. I don't remember them. They opened for Fall Out Boy on a tour. They came through Milwaukee. It was the last time I really remember them being in the area, like in a big way. So I could see this happening this year. Jimmy Eat World being on the lineup.
They are doing this tour with the Offspring, which could be a conflict. But they're not the main act on that. They're the support act. And Jimmy, I can tell you this, Jimmy Eat World, a band that could play big shows on their own, is not opposed to understanding what it means to not be the top act, but be an act in that lineup that still steals the day.
Them opening for Fall Out Boy was, to me, very weird, but also made a lot of sense when you're like, oh, it
sounds weird on paper.
Yeah.
But then when you see them do it, you're like, that song. Like, people sleep on Jimmy World.
Nothing but hits.
Yeah, and people sleep on that band.
Yeah. They are incredible. And they still sound just as good live as they sound as good live as they do on the record. Like, it is
sound good,
incredible. Look
good, play good. You know what I mean? Like, everything there. And also, it's still genuine. There's nothing they're saying that they don't really mean that they meant then.
So I want them on. So I'm going to say A on Jimmy World, because now we're just talking about Jimmy World. I'm like, yeah, get them on there. Figure if this comes out and they're not on the lineup, figure it out. Fix the problem.
Figure it out, dude.
Solve the issue here. I put it to you late, but who cares? Next band is Rancid. They played in 2015.
Yeah. I would put Rancid oh my God. See, that's one I didn't even think of.
Yeah.
I would absolutely put them up there.
Now, I'm not a big fan of Rancid. In fact, for all intents and purposes, I really don't like Rancid, but I do think they're likely to be on this.
You don't like Rancid? Why?
I don't like Rancid. I just don't like his voice. I don't like the songs. I don't like... we did a review of some other record, and I was talking about Rancid and the influence that like Tim Armstrong and Jerry Finn producing and Out Came the Wolves, I believe, just had on like music and punk at that time. And I was like, yeah, I had like an ex-girlfriend who had a Tim Armstrong tattoo.
Now you're doing the thing where you're conflating someone who really liked the band that you don't have a relationship with anymore with the band.
Here's the thing. Yes. And I'm not going to stop.
Bro, I called you on it, dude.
No. I will call myself on it, but I'm saying it's not actually a bad thing. And in many ways, I learned from that experience what needed to happen with my actual love affair with this band. So I don't like this band, and that happened.
There's one more band, and this one's out there.
Drop it. Yeah.
Megadeth. They haven't played. They're a classic metal band that has they have a lot of the same demographics, I think, that would cross over. I can see some people saying they're maybe a little bit too controversial in terms of some opinions they have. But you can't claim that they're not counterculture in terms of the things they say as well. But they did Bonnaroo this year out of nowhere, which was a surprising thing. And maybe Dave Mustaine is a guy who's like, yeah, I'll roll the dice and do some of these out there bookings and do some different things and not just play the metal tours that people think I'm going to play. So I would go with them for sure. There's some bands I know that I think I'll cancel out. I thought Killswitch Engage would do it this year, but they did the Summer of Loud Festival. Beartooth, I thought, would be a band that's having a big year that you could maybe put up near like a high ranking position that would have a big year. Another band, you want to start talking about this band? Okay. Turnstile. They're dropping a brand new album this year. They didn't do it last year, but they did the year before when Foo Fighters played. I would put them in that category as well.
I could see it. We didn't talk about this, and I don't want to bring up a lot of can of worms when we have to end the episode. But
are we getting an episode with what bands could possibly be on the lineup?
No, it's look. It's happening the same weekend as Louder Than Life.
I know more than I'm supposed to say.
I know.
I
know. After this,
I could be wrong. What if I say what I think it is, and then I'm absolutely dead wrong?
Well, yeah, I think that it's going to conflict with Louder Than Life, and so there's a lot of these bands like Megadeth and Beartooth and Killswitch that are playing.
Also, there's a crossover though. Louder Than Life is a very big, mainly metal hard rock festival.
Yeah,
it's going down in Louisville, Kentucky. Look at that lineup. There's going to be a lot of bands that cross over and do both.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, but there's some bands that are doing arena tours, like Sleep Token sold out an arena tour. They're a hugely popular band. And they're going to be limited on their festival dates this year because they can make so much money just doing their own dates. An arena band that no one heard about.
Allstate already sold out. So fuck that.
Yeah. But if it already sold out, then you're available. Then what's the conflict? You know what I mean? So like, and also with the secondary market, wow, wouldn't Live Nation look like a very wonderfully inviting audience to their audience if they understood like, oh wait, you already bought tickets? Well, here's another opportunity to go see that band, even if it isn't our show. That's what I would think. You already bought tickets. They're already sold. What's the difference?
Kevin, let the people know again where they can find you, where they can support you for the show coming up in August, and where they can listen to all of your Riot Fest summaries and thoughts once this
you can hear me doing all the
that.
Riot Fest stuff. I'm on 3 different radio stations. You can hear me on Rockford on 104.9 The X, weekdays 10 to 2. I'm on weekends for Q101 in Chicago. I'm on now while we're talking. And I do a lot of other stuff as well. I'm on every night for 93X out of Minneapolis. You can stream all 3 of those radio stations. Links to where you can hear me for that music is at my website, kevkellam.com. That's kevinkellam.com, KevinKellam.com. I'm taping my first stand-up comedy album. I've been working on it for years, called Kevin in Hell, August 9th, 9 p.m. at Lincoln Hall as a part of the Windy City Comedy Festival. That's August 9th. Maybe make a weekend out of it. Lincoln Park. 2 nights later, come by and say hi.
Yeah. Well, Kevin.
Ryan, this was fun. I enjoy it.
So much. So many bands that we can talk about. We'll have to follow up on this after the lineup comes out and when Riot Fest is actually happening. But this was great. Thank you.
I would love to record another one with you before we get to Riot Fest times.
Exactly. We'll do it. Well, thank you again. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you at Riot Fest, and I think all these bands are going to play it. So we figured it out.
Every single one that we talked about. Every single one. This is going to be a crazy lineup, and tickets are going to be very cheap, and it's crazy. Absolutely.
I don't think it makes fiscal sense, but I like it. It makes fiscal sense for me. Maybe
Ryan,
not for the fest.
I will see you down the line. We will compare orthopedic dad vans in the future.
Yes.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, man.
See you later, man.
Have a good one.
You too.